San Antonio was just ranked the most affordable major city in the country. But oddly enough, a lot of people are still struggling to make it and feel comfortable doing so. And that's that part behind the #1 ranking that nobody's really talking about. I've lived in San Antonio literally my entire life, and I know this place like the back of my hand. But when you really look at what it actually costs to live comfortably around here, plus comparing it to what people are actually making, it really changes the landscape of things. Now, San Antonio is still incredibly affordable, and that's a big reason that a lot of people are moving here. But there's much more than just that affordable stigma that goes into it, and we're going to talk about each and every one of those items here today. So that national study that just gave San Antonio the #1 ranking for the most affordable major city in the country was Smart Asset. So Smart Asset's 2026 study that used the MIT's living wage calculator calculated out the most affordable and the least affordable metros in the entire country. And to do that, they use what they call the 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your post-tax income goes to your needs, 30% goes to your wants, and 20% is saved for later. And out of all the cities in the country, San Antonio came in at the most affordable on that list. So what does this actually look like? That 50-30-20 rule is actually looking at what it costs to live comfortably in an area. So as you can imagine, that 50% to your needs, 30% to your wants, 20% towards savings and debt payoff is a pretty good budget rule of thumb for anybody. According to the study, it takes $83,000 per year in income for a single person to live comfortably in San Antonio. And for a family of 4, it's $192,000 a year. Now, if you compare that to a place like San Jose or New York, to live in San Jose as a single person comfortably, you need $159,000 a year. So our number is almost half of that. Now, out of the top 10 most affordable places in the country, there is no other big city in Texas. No Austins, Dallases, Houstons that landed on that affordability list. Now, again, this is also one study. There's multiple other studies that have looked at the same kind of comfortable living wage. For example, another study done by Upgraded Points had that number closer to $93,000 a year for San Antonio, which used Economic Policy Institute data. But as you can imagine, no matter which study you're looking at, San Antonio still comes out right on top when it comes to affordable big cities to live in. By getting into what's really underneath and what's really driving those rankings is very, very important, and I don't want anybody to miss that, so that's what we should get into now. And it starts with that gap of what people need to comfortably live versus what they're actually earning. Now, very quickly before we get into that, I run the Life and SATX home group here in San Antonio. I've lived here my entire life. My name is Michael McCall. I absolutely love this city. I love San Antonio. I love Texas, and I want you guys to love it just as much as I do. That's why I do these videos. Okay, so if you're finding any value in this at all, would love for you guys to subscribe to this channel so you're always seeing those new videos that we're talking about. You can also call, text, or email us anytime, days, nights, or weekends, whether you're moving here in 2 days or 2 years, and you just want to know about what it's going to take to move you and your family here to San Antonio. This gap between the comfortable living wage and the actual average salary is really what doesn't make the headlines, and I think what needs to be talked about a lot more. And again, this is the case throughout the country in every single one of these cities. In San Antonio, the median household makes about $66,000 a year. But using that 50-30-20 rule that they're using for the study, the average is between $83,000 and $93,000 of what you need to live comfortably. So there's a big gap there. I mean, nearly 50%. And for families, that gap is even more. So the median income in San Antonio for families is $99,000 per year when you need $193,000 to live comfortably. So we're at, again, almost double what the median income actually is versus what a family needs to live comfortably. San Antonio is the most affordable big city in the country, and we still have families that are all over that are just trying to keep up. And we're going to compare this to Austin and Dallas, and so that kind of gets even more eye-opening, so make sure you stick around for that too. So why is San Antonio even #1 at all when you're looking at these numbers? Well, it comes down to one thing, and I think that is going to be pretty obvious once we talk about it. This may be you, but think about a family that's living in, say, California right now, okay? They have decided that they just can't afford anything anymore over there. They've got to find somewhere else to go. They're trying to figure out all their options. They need a place that has jobs. They need a place that is going to be similar to where they're coming from. They have a lot of needs, but the biggest one is that they cannot afford anything other than a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment where they're currently at. And the moment that they come across San Antonio housing prices, a lot of those things immediately stop mattering, and they are all in focused on, hey, I can buy a house for my family in this place. And so you look at San Antonio, our housing pricing is 21 to 25% below the national average. And that is probably the single reason why we rank number one in affordability. So when you look at the numbers, median price points, we're in like the upper 200s, low 300s right now, depending on where you're looking at for the median price point of a home in San Antonio. And it is very, very easy to find something in that low 200s range. And on top of that, it makes the luxury homes here significantly more affordable as well. I mean, you can find a sub-$1 million home that other places of the country would be $2-3 million on acreage, brand new construction, luxury custom style. I mean, you get a lot of bang for your buck no matter which range you're looking at on the housing chart. And even comparing it to the other cities in Texas, Austin is in that mid to upper 400s, was in 500s at one point. Dallas is kind of that mid to upper 300s, even touching the 400s in some situations. Houston's in that mid 300s. So we're a good amount below every other big city in Texas. And Texas obviously has a lot of benefits just from the tax and the business friendly nature of it as well. Now, I wouldn't be doing my job as a resident here unless I discussed one of the most pressing things that people have concerns about with Texas and housing, and that is the property taxes. Obviously, we don't have a state income tax here in Texas, and tons of people think that moving here, you are going to be paying way more than what you would be paying in state income tax just on the property taxes. Now, and that does depend on where you come from and where you're looking at, but the vast majority of the homes here, because of it being your primary residence, as long as you're not looking at an investment where you don't get any of the homestead exemptions, that homestead exemption is a big deal changer for a lot of people. And when you look at the overall tax rates, outside of the direct city limits, you're going to be seeing significantly lower rates. Let me give you some examples for that. In San Antonio, you're at 2.3-ish, 2.4% across the board on the average property taxes. Okay, so on a $300,000 house, if you're paying that full 2.3%, you're looking at $6,900 a year. But when you add that homestead exemption to it, you're saving $140,000 on the taxable value of that property. We're using $300,000 as an example. So you're looking at just the school taxes specifically that are being reduced on that homestead exemption. So it's not the full thing, but what people don't realize is that school taxes is about 70% of your overall tax bill. So if you're looking at that 70% number, let's just use round numbers. Let's just say 1.5% is going towards the schools on the overall tax bill of 2.3%. So on a $300,000 house, you're looking at $4,500 going just towards the schools. Now that homestead exemption reduces that number to $2,400. So you're saving $2,100 a year, reduces that $6,900 down to $4,800 total that you're paying with that homestead exemption. So use that when you're calculating everything. But once you get out of the city limits, the tax rates go down significantly. There's areas in Bernie where you can pay 1.3% for your property taxes. A lot of areas in Bulverde, including some subdivisions very close to town, are at 1.5% on your property tax rate. So if you get a, say, $350,000 home in those areas, 1.5% on the tax bill, you're looking at $5,250 on the overall taxes for a $350,000 home at a 1.5% tax bill before you even take anything off for the homestead exemption. So the affordability on the taxes is significantly less than what a vast majority of people actually think it is. And that's not even talking about if you're a 100% disabled veteran and you pay zero property taxes. And there's no exceptions there. It is zero property taxes on your permanent primary residence. Once you close with us, I'll help you with everything that you need as far as getting that homestead exemption filed. It's very, very easy. Literally, all you have to do is change your driver's license and submit the form online. It's a piece of cake, but it's something that a lot of people overlook and really keeps them from looking at Texas, honestly, as a whole, as a place that they could potentially move to. Now, with all that said, there is one detail from the last 2 years that you really need to pay attention to that kind of comes as a shock to a lot of people, myself included. Based on some similar studies, back in 2023, a person needed just $59,000 a year to live comfortably in San Antonio. And now that number is up between $85,000 and $93,000 a year. That's roughly a 43% increase in just 2 years, guys. From what I've seen, that shift came from inflation and a lot of inflation that happened during the pandemic, in addition to that massive bump in housing prices. Now, over the last year or two, those numbers on the inflation and the housing prices have started to come down just a little bit. So it's helping with things, okay? But it doesn't eliminate the fact that insurance has gone up dramatically. It doesn't eliminate the fact that housing prices have definitely gone up dramatically in the last 4 to 5 years. Gas prices, obviously, as we're talking about this now with the whole Iran situation, are through the roof. So that is scaring people a lot as well. Interest rates being significantly higher. I mean, there's a lot of factors that have affected this dramatically. And it just shows that even the most affordable metro and the most affordable big city in the country is not immune to prices increasing. Changes a lot of conversations, creates a lot more hesitation, and ultimately just ends up making the fact that you need to do a little bit more research and make sure that this is the right move before you just jump in and go for it. It makes that fact more important, in my opinion. So let's continue to talk a little bit about housing. So as it comes to affording a median price home in San Antonio, you're looking at about $79,000 to $90,000 a year as a single person to be able to qualify for a median price home based off all the other factors being averages as far as debt and everything. If you got some cash to put down, don't have a whole lot of debt, can qualify for VA loan with a lower interest rate. I mean, there's lots of factors that come into that, but that's kind of the ballpark range. If you're looking at a place like Austin, just right up the road, which a lot of people that are moving here are because of the higher paying jobs over there with the tech industry, you do need $140,000 on your median income to afford the same type of median priced home as you would in San Antonio. So you can see there's a drastic difference between the two, just an hour's drive apart basically. Currently, the market is giving buyers a lot more breathing room on the prices. Now you can go into the new construction, get lots of incentives, get much better interest rates because they're buying down rates, but as we're seeing things progress throughout this spring and throughout 2026, we are seeing more activity come back up because overall interest rates have started to come down just a little bit. We're kind of hovering in that mid sixes, like 6.3 to 6.4 right now on a national level, but I just had folks close with a VA loan for 5.6%, and I've seen folks close with new construction in the 4% range with those incentives. So you can get really, really good rates that drastically help with affordability, but there's obviously a lot more conversations to be had with that. So make sure you do reach out to us if you want to talk specifics on those numbers. As a home seller, if you're looking at trying to get your house on the market and either upgrade, downgrade, move to a different area, if you're looking at just kind of clearing out and want to just do something different with your life, whenever you're selling that house right now, there are a lot more homes on the market than there typically are, and so it's taking longer. You're looking at 90 to 120 days on average for getting your home sold, and that kind of just depends on which area you're at and what your house is priced at and what its situation is. If it's just a kind of blank slate, builder grade home that you bought a couple years ago and you're trying to sell it and compete with the builders, you're going to be in a tough spot and you're going to be selling that home for less than what you bought it for in most cases. Now, if you're in a more established area, it doesn't have a lot of new construction, it's going to come down to making sure your house has all those little things done. If it has old carpet, if it has beat up baseboards that are scratched up from the kids or from the cats or from the dogs, if you've got kind of a weird smell in there. I mean, all these little things, there's more inventory on the market. So when people go into a house, you want to walk into that house and you want them to feel like this is perfect. Like there's nothing that they could do to this house to make it better. And that's what's going to bring you offers. Now we've talked enough about housing. Let's talk about, comparing these metros and these big cities in Texas and kind of what it takes to live in each of those areas comfortably too. Let's talk about housing. San Antonio, again, upper 200s, low 300s, median price point. You're looking at needing $79,000 a year to $90,000 a year to comfortably afford one of those houses. Houston, your median price point's mid 300s, and you need about $97,000 to $100,000 a year to afford that. Dallas is roughly $400,000. We'll say slightly, less than that, but we'll say $400,000 for these numbers, and you need about $110,000 to $114,000 a year to be able to afford that. And then Austin, although prices are coming down, prices are still in that upper 400s range, and you're going to need about $140,000 to afford a house in Austin right now. I mean, you look at the overall gap in income that's needed to buy a median price home in these areas, and San Antonio is significantly less, about $50,000 less than the nearest competitor. On average, really. There's even more data backing that up for specifically home buying, and San Antonio is the most affordable metro in Texas for first-time home buyers, with an affordability ratio about 3.2 times that of the income, with Austin obviously being significantly higher than that. And I know that a lot of you guys are looking at moving to a place like Texas, one for values, two for the affordability, and there is so many benefits to that, and definitely San Antonio is worth your additional consideration because it is the most affordable city with the most opportunity in Texas, right? So you look at military, you look at healthcare, you look at education, you look at, the cyber data that is kind of coming in, and all the other opportunities that are coming to a place like San Antonio and that are surrounding here between, being close to the coast, being, near a place that has so much going for it, like New Braunfels, being near the hill country, being in an area that has better weather than a lot of other places. I mean, there's so much to talk about when it comes to the benefits of San Antonio versus the other big cities in the Texas area. But you know, there's the main thing that I just always like to end these kind of conversations with is explaining, like, look, myself, my family, I know everything ins and outs, all the ins and outs of San Antonio, and I've chosen to live here and will never go anywhere else. You know, I've seen the benefits and seen, you know, what could happen, you know, and what, you know, a lot of the negatives are with places like Houston and Austin being, you know, in and out of those areas a lot throughout my life. And in my opinion, there's no place like San Antonio. And again, like I've said before, guys, myself and my team at the Life and SATX Home Group, we are, you know, dedicated individuals to help you specifically with your move here, and would love to be that resource for you. So reach out to us. Again, email, text, call, whatever, you know, whatever works best for you guys. Anytime, days, nights, or weekends, whether you're moving here in 2 days or 2 years, doesn't matter to us, guys. We'd love to be that resource for you on San Antonio, and would love to continue being a guide for you guys on this channel. So definitely don't forget to subscribe and take a look at this video right here. This is all about where you could live and where you should live in San Antonio, kind of breaking down every single area in the city, so that you can really get a detailed insight on all the ins and outs of how San Antonio is broken down from a local like myself. So take a look at that video, and until the next one, guys, we'll see you there.